As the Federal Executive Council meeting, well, it's ongoing. The president inaugurated that at 12 noon and just a week after the swearing in of the ministers. President Bola Tinubu has charged the newly inaugurated ministers to prioritize the interests and welfare of the entire nation and its diverse population above any regional or state-specific considerations. He also emphasized the immense responsibility the ministers now bear in shaping policies that will significantly influence the lives of hundreds of millions of Nigerians. Well, let's talk more about the task ahead of the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development. I'm being joined by no other person and the spokesperson of the Airline Operators of Nigeria. He doubles as the chairman of United Airlines of Nigeria, Professor Obiora Okonkwo. Prof, good afternoon. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Tolo. It's good to be here again. But just a point of correction, Chairman United Nigeria Airlines.
Nigeria Airlines, yes. Oh, thank you so much there. United Nigerian Airlines. Thank you so much. Now, there's a lot in the industry at this time. But I'd like us to start with the issue of foreign airlines trying to, throw a challenge, if I put it that way, to our local players. I want to ask you, what do you think the minister can do? Recently, the president came up regards to Emirates and what's been happening with Dubai. All of these kind of issues before we go into some other ones. I know there are a lot, but I'd like us to start on that note. How are the local players trying to thrive despite challenges like this one? Repatriating of FX is also something that is very, very important at this time.
Yes, thank you, Tolu. We've tried to discuss this topic a couple of times, I think one occasion in this studio. Yes, the aviation currency all over the world is dollars. So you have to know how to deal with dollar situation. You must have access to dollar for all the things you are doing. That's why most of the international operators who come in and out of Nigeria also do repatriate their funds in dollars. That having been said, we also, the operators, also, because we earn our money in Naira and the aviation currency in dollars, we also should have access to a reasonable percentage of dollars. We are talking about nothing less than 95% of all our expenses in aviation, including spare parts, importation, and the lasers, fees, and all that. As of the international operators, we have always known there is a lopsided BASA agreement. This BASA agreement has given them a whole lot of flight times into Nigeria. I know that British Airways come as much as 21 times in a week. That's quite a lot, especially when you don't have Nigerian flag bearer flying to United Kingdom, landing in any of the airports. These things are usually better when you have local operators who also have the capacity to fly to UK. In that case, you share the passengers. And the other way around also is that you do what they call co-sharing. Co-sharing means that British Airways may not have to be coming to Abuja. They may also take off from Lagos. But some of their passengers going from Lagos to UK may be moved from different locations like Abuja or the airports to Lagos to take off to UK. So in that case, they have just landed in Lagos. But we are hoping that with the new minister coming in, they have to look at the challenges we have with regards to the access to foreign exchange and also local funds. Because if truth be said, if you could get Naira for 440 Naira or 50 Naira at the official rate just about 2 months ago, today you are battling Naira at 950 or more at the parallel market due to the one exchange window. that has actually affected our resources, like you lost 50% of your resources. This aviation industry has to be supported. It's a vibrant industry. It's the envy of the whole world with regards to aviation. The new breed operators have made a lot of sacrifice to keep the industry growing. In a country of over 200 million, and we have about roughly 10% of the population flying, it could be grown to 30 to 40% within a very short period. Government will only benefit from it because we're talking about unemployment. It creates jobs. Aviation industry is one of the sectors that really pay reasonably well, even more than, if not equal to the banks. And as much as some people earn $10,000, $5 million, $2 million, $3 million, depending on level of employment. So, and each aircraft has minimum number of people to be employed to work around it, both ground staff and staff in the air and the backdoor staff. So we are really looking forward to a situation where we should be supported, and we're not asking government to dash us money or give us money. We've said this and said and over again, just the right policy. The policy that will make it available, the funds that government had set aside with some other financing houses. Like, we know there was a time there was funds set aside by government through CBN, Bank of Industry, and other commercial banks. But accessing these funds were impossible. It was just like a camel going through the eye of the needle. They have to look at this thing, because if you are accessing funds to get aircraft, you should be allowed to collateralize that fund with aircraft which you are buying. I wouldn't be accessing like 20, 30 billion naira to procure aircraft, and you want me to go and get equivalent of that money deposited in the bank as a collateral, equivalent of another estate, develop, surrender the CFO to the bank as a collateral. So if that borrower has that estate, he could have as well sold it and they use the money without paying interest to the bank. So these are the little things we're expecting that this new minister will have to work with all the other agencies and government players responsible to ensure that this is softened so that people can access this loan in a very soft way, single digit preferably, and with long terms. That's the only way it works, because we can't be competitive with what's going on. Our competitors overseas access foreign exchange. They generate their money in foreign exchange. They have access to loan for 2-3%, maximum. And then they have 5-10 years, down the line. 80 to 90% of aircrafts used worldwide, including the one used by Emirates, British Airways, they are not owned by these operators. They are owned by funds who get these funds, support leasing companies with technical knowledge. They buy out these aircraft and lease to the operators. We're also ready in Nigeria to work with the government to do such arrangement here in Nigeria. We do not think that government really need to put money, drop money, but the policy has to be right. Because for any technical lessor to come into Nigeria or any capital to put in money, they have to be sure that the policy is right, so that when the operators are able to lease these aircraft, they're able to repatriate their money timely and when due. Most of the problems we're having today is that even if you have the naira in your account, you may not access the forex to be able to make timely payment of your obligations to your lessors. So the government should be a matter of policy. That's what we believe. This should be totally private sector driven. We do not think that government has any business in the business of aviation.
All right. Interesting way to really start this conversation, laying that foundation there, Prof. But let me ask you, that many are talking about a review of the bilateral air service arrangement. That's the BASAL arrangement which we talked about. That will be more beneficial maybe to us as a country That's on one side. What also do you think this minister can do in areas of regulatory services, or what to do with regulators, so that it doesn't interfere into things that he might not need to, because safety remains very important in this very sector. So it's like a 2-in-1 question, Prof.
We think that BASA, as like I've said, as it is today, is lopsided, the arrangement. We have some aircrafts, some airlines like Askaya that is taking advantage of the fifth freedom, pumping around all parts of Nigeria. If we have local operators who are supported, we can give them a competition, and then we should provide these services which they think they are bridging the gap, and then that could be stripped off them. So we are ready and prepared. We have about 5 Nigerian operators that have IOSA certification. Like I have said, this is basically one of the things you need to fly international. We have them. Good number of them have also applied for landing rights in foreign countries. We hope that the minister will be able to work with the NCA to ensure that these countries respond to our demands quickly. For instance, United Nigeria, we are clear with Ghana very soon, the next matter of weeks or so, a month. We should be going to Ghana. We're expecting responses from other Western countries, US, UK. We have arrangement for the aircraft. So, but these things will only be done if you have quick response from this country. Sometimes they are delayed deliberately because they don't want competition. Take, for instance, when Emirates stopped coming to Nigeria, they stopped issuing visas to Nigeria because they don't want Airpeace, who is already designated to fly to UAE, to take advantage of that. They could have stopped coming and continued to issue visa. And I'll tell you, probably nobody will miss them because Airpeace has 777 that can go in and out of Emirates 2-3 times a day if need be, and then they will mop up the whole passengers. These are part of the aero politics that is going on there. So in terms of the regulation, it is important for the minister to note that he should allow the regulators to be as independent as possible. There should be no interference. In the next week, the NCA will be going to a COA audit. It's important that this process, at every point in time it comes up, the regulators pass that review because it's very, very critical. And it is not necessarily important for the minister to be interested in appointments for those who are not technically qualified. We've seen that happen in the last administration, so much so that NCA now is understaffed. Not only that they're understaffed, they may have over number of people they need, but a good number of these people are not qualified to meet certain standards that are required by ICAO. For this reason, it's affecting their services to the operators. So we will expect that the minister should look into that and express some wisdom that the regulatory agencies must be allowed to operate freely, no interference. We had also expected the minister to look at certain acts of NCA that is suffocating the operators. For every single ticket you sell, you pay about 5% of part of that ticket to NCA. You do deduction to fund. There are multiple deductions. So at the end of the day, you are owing hundreds of millions, or you are transferring or paying hundreds of millions or billions, depending on the size of the aircraft and the operation, to NCA and other government agencies. One of the big operators in Nigeria last year paid as much as 13 billion naira to NCA. You know, and the regulatory agencies, according to ICAO rule, is just there to recoup cost. It's not for profit making. ACA also forbids regulatory agencies to use their income, or countries to use income from regulatory agencies to invest in other business. So they are there to regulate and not to make profit. But we found out that good chunk of what we are making go to NCA. What is the margin in ticket to sell? So we're expecting that act has to be reviewed. They need the cooperation of the minister, and the minister should also help the operators to ensure that all the necessary payments and bills that we do pay to FAN and other agencies are looked into. The safety in the air of aircraft is as good as the viability of the business. Financial stability, financial integrity of any airline gives you a surer guarantee of safety of its operations. And when we look at these things, because of the inconsistencies and the inflation in the country, the operators are so much constrained to be changing prices every day. So when we talk about costing these tickets rightly, it is not necessary to exploit the passengers. Sometimes people say that way. No. If you think that some time ago ticket was cheap, you could buy the ticket for 15,000 naira or 20,000 naira to fly. Yes, you are right. But that time you might look at it and remember that the value of naira was 150 naira to $1. So in that case, you probably would have been paying about $100 to $130 minimum for a ticket. Look at it today. For you, the reasonable pricing of any takeoff and landing of any aircraft, commercial aircraft, should not be less than $100 worldwide, because the costs are the same. Calculations are clear. So that today, you have naira at 900, between 900 and 950. So basically, you should be paying about minimum, the least you should pay should be that amount for the ticket. And normally, the minimum tickets in an airline are no more than 5%. So as much as that 5% is progressing, then as you go into your occupancy of 10%, 20%, 50% and upwards, the more you pay. It is clear, that's the rule in the law. That's why if you buy a ticket, maybe going to London for $1,000, and have a need to change the same ticket on the same aircraft on the same day, you might be told to pay $3,000 extra to change a ticket you have bought for $1,000. That's the rule in the world. But because we have been trying to be very, very considerate, the airline operators in Nigeria have been absorbing these losses. But we can't do that for a very long time, because when we do, it will affect our ability to maintain the aircraft. Cost of operating internally here is very high. If you have to fly internationally, 2, 3, 4 hours flight, the cost is cheaper, because it will allow your aircraft to fly at higher altitude, and when you do that, you consume less fuel. And then if you have to maintain your aircraft on a maintenance agreement of cycles. Cycles means that if you take off from Abuja and land in Lagos, 1 cycle gone. It's the same thing as if you take off from Lagos and land in China, 16 hours. 45 minutes flight and 16 hours flight is the same cycle. It's the same maintenance period you need to maintain the same aircraft. It's the same amount of money. So because our airspace is some countries of the world, like if you're in Russia, you could take off from Moscow and go to Siberia for 7 hours. You are still doing domestic flight. In the United States of America, the same. So what we are just saying is that the cost of operation is high. We're very patriotic and determined to grow this industry. We believe in the viability. But over the years, a lot of attentions have not been paid to it. The last administration, yes, we gave them credit for signing into law the amendment that made it possible for us to get in the aircraft duty-free. But we thank Mr. President for doing that. But the credit should go to the leaders of Aeon, led by the chairman of ASMAN and his deputy chairman of Aerospace. They took the initiative and then did all they had to do with the cooperation and understanding of National Assembly, the House of Reps Committee on Aviation, and then Senate Committee on Aviation with their leaders. They helped us a lot. So these are the people to take the credit. And thanks to Mr. President, it's not an initiative from the ministry. The minister has nothing to do with it. Because for the last 4 years, what we have been getting in terms of policy from that ministry was just suffocating the airlines, demarketing us, to give the right reason why they should support the so-called Nigeria Air. Thank God that is over. We believe that the incoming minister should have no other interest or stake than the progress of the industry, to grow the economy, to grow GDP, to benefit the passengers, and then strengthen the investment potentials in that area, and for us also to recoup our investment. It's a huge capital layout to be in this business.
Well, finally, we have an outlook. And at the end of the day, everyone will still believe that it will be bright if things are done right. But I want to also ask one question before that final question. Are we going to get to a point where we start to pay with Naira when we want to, living from here to America or London? This dollar dependency is becoming a big issue.
Oh, yeah, that's very simple. If you want to buy one of the operators that fly internationally today is Aerospace. If you are buying Aerospace, you pay in dollars. And in our own time, in our own era, some time ago, you could buy Arik, you could buy Bellevue or something in Naira. And that's why we must be supported to fly overseas, because that will bring the cost of ticket almost 50% below the cost price. I mean, below what we are paying for now. And that will reduce the pressure in Naira. And the good thing also is that those people who are flying into Nigeria from other parts of the world using the local operators should be paying in foreign currency. So it will also reduce our need to be going to the foreign exchange window to look for forex. We can debit directly our own earnings. So I really think that it should be a win-win situation for everybody, because from that we can get some reserves to maintain the aircraft and then meet our obligations timely and when due. So the ultimate thing is the minister supporting a policy that will strengthen the operators financially, and then also policy that will reduce over expenses on the side of operators due to different taxations, different surcharges and payments to regulators who are not actually there to make profit. So I think when that is done, we have more reserves to operate, and then we'll have access to capital, which at the end of the day, you know, government should tax us. We still pay taxes in so many areas. We give employment, employees pay tax, and then the GDP will grow, and then everybody will be happy for it.
Most thank you so much for your time. I've been speaking to the spokesperson of Airline Operators of Nigeria, who doubles as the chairman, United Nigerian Airlines, Professor Obera Okonkwo. Thank you so much for starting the week with us on this show. We'll follow up with the policies of the minister, and we hope to have you in to analyze it moving on.
Thank you very much. We have confidence that the minister will be successful. We had a solidarity visit with him, and he is committed to working with the off-takers, the operators, in every step he takes, because his policy is only a reflection of how it makes the industry successful. So we are very highly appreciative of that. If we keep the spirit and keep his commitment to the general interest of the industry and Nigeria at large, then we have no doubt that he will be the best aviation minister ever.
Thank you so much, and you have a productive and profitable week, Prof. Coming up on the show, we'll shift our focus, talking crude oil theft amid economic challenges as federal government moves to address this squarely And joining me to discuss this after this break is co-founder and CEO of Budget, Mr. Oluseun Onigunde. Don't go away. It's Business Nigeria.
Politics is defined as getting what, where, when,